Hey everyone, my name's Lexi.
And my name is Jessica.
And today we're going to be going over all the things AI within your Lead AR account. I just wanted to remind you this is a pre-recorded webinar, so if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to chat in. But for now, Jessica's going to go ahead and get started with Conversation AI.
All right, guys. So first thing we're going to go over is how to train our bot using Conversation AI. So first thing I want to go ahead and do is go over to my settings towards the bottom and go ahead and click into Conversations AI. So this is just a great tool to use to definitely save time. Yes, even though you might have your front desk being responsible to answer messages throughout the day, but still, right? Days can get busy, hectic, crazy, and really Conversations AI is really meant to help answer some of those really easy questions. So first thing that we're gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and up towards the top, hit Create Bot. Once I hit Create Bot, you have a couple of different options. You can start from scratch, general Q&A. You do have appointment booking, so we actually never want to use appointment booking because, again, always remember, hey, your appointment booking is actually through Aesthetic Record and not through Lead AR, so you'll never use that middle one. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just actually click into general Q&A. So once I go ahead and hit Continue, here are some of the options that we can kind of play around. These are kind of the settings that are super, super important, and then we'll get into, okay, how do we actually train it? So first things first is, of course, you have the options right here where you can turn it off, have suggestive. So again, maybe you don't want it to respond for you, but hey, right, if it generates some easy, quick responses, you can just click it, maybe make like a word or two change and then just hit send. That's always an option too. And then you can also have it on autopilot, which we can even have more settings into that, which I'm about to go into. The next thing that I also want to show you is, hey, what channels do we want this to be responsible for? So I'm going to go ahead and hit this drop down. So right now it's just selected for texting, but know that you can add more to it. So if we wanted to, I could do, hey, I also want it to answer Instagram DMs that come through, Facebook Messenger. You can do the chat widget or even live chat, and then also the WhatsApp. So here's where you can kind of play around and see what channels we would want to utilize this for. Next, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here into our advanced settings. So this part, I cannot stress enough, is very, very important because realistically, right, this is just meant to help, not necessarily take away all communication, right? So here we can play around with the autopilot, right? So the first thing that we can see right here is, right, what's going to be that time gap before AI responds. So here, this is where you can kind of play around. And the big thing I love about this section too is that you can really just do trial and error, right? What's that sweet spot that is the most ideal and works best? So with here, maybe we do 30 seconds or 60 seconds if we kind of want to make it look like someone's actually responding, because realistically, right, who's going to respond in 2 seconds? But again, right, this is where you can play around with that. But really the most important part, I think, about this section is the maximum of messages a bot can have in a single interaction. So here, I know it's defaulted at 10, but I would honestly say that's too much. I would keep it honestly to 2 to 3. But again, this is where you can kind of play around and find that happy number. But right, in my opinion, if your bot is responding, 10 times in a row, right, you might have an idea, or there might be a chance where, hey, right, your AI just isn't trained enough. It's not answering what that client is actually wanting. So I think having that sweet spot of, hey, right, if it has to respond more than 3 times, maybe, right, we need to actually talk to an actual human. So here I would maybe suggest doing 2 or 3. And again, this is where it's trial and error. We can find that sweet spot. So other thing too as well, super transparent too with the pricing using your AI. As you can see here, it is every time AI does respond, it is going to be a automatic 2-cent charge. But again, depending on what plan you have, right, you do get monthly credits added into your plan every month as well. All right, real quick before we do move on, forgot to point out is this section here too as well. So this section says send bot to sleep when I send a message manually, or if they're in a workflow. So I would definitely recommend turning this on, only because, right, if you do have that downtime and you do have a moment to respond, right? We don't want you to respond and AI to respond at the same time, right? It might, get clustered and look a little messy. So this is also super, super important. And again, right, we can totally play around with, hey, right, if I manually respond or if they manually get a text message, or not manually, automated through an automation, right, how long do I want that bot to essentially, not respond? So again, trial and error, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, right? Again, that's where we can kind of play around and find that happy medium. So now we'll finally get into actually train your bot. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually hit save really quick. And then I'm going to click into bot training. So once I hit into bot training, it's pretty easy in terms of just getting all of that knowledge in there. So here, all we need to do is actually just copy and paste your website. So as long as your website URL or your website in general has decent amount of information, this will be a good playing ground in terms of testing your bot. And I'll show you also where, hey, right, maybe it's not answering as well as I would like. We can also train it even further to get down to that actual answer that you would like for it to spit out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, just for an example, I'm going to go ahead and grab just our website URL and kind of show you and play around and test it live with you guys. All right, so I went ahead and open up a new tab, just copied our website, and now I'm going to go ahead and show you, okay, where do we copy and paste that link? So I'm going to go ahead and hit create new, and I'm just going to call this website, because the nice thing about this too is you can add multiple different knowledge bases. So I'm just going to call this the website, and I'm going to hit continue and save. All right, so now that we have done that, here you can see right here, it says enter your domain. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste our URL. Then you're gonna go ahead and hit get data. So here, it might take a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, just because, right, hey, it's grabbing all the information that you could possibly find on your website, and it's just grabbing all the information. So once we do that, now I can go ahead and hit go back to all. And here we can see it's also here. So it actually uploaded us into knowledge base, but here we'll actually want to go back into Conversations AI. And I'm going to go ahead and click edit into the one that we were just testing. I'm going to go back into bot training. And here I am going to click right here. Now you can see our knowledge bases. So I'm going to go ahead and hit website. And again, we can hit get data, and it's going to go ahead and fetch the pages. Again, it can take a couple of seconds. All right, so now that it's finally gotten its data, took all the data in, here's where we can actually train the bot. So here I am just going to simply say, what is lead AR, and go ahead and hit enter. So here, as you can see, it has a response. And so here's where you can just constantly play around, ask it questions, see how much information it pulls and how it responds. All right, so as you're testing your bot, right, obviously it might not answer everything perfect, but this is where we can actually play around with customized responses. So here it will say customize bot responses. All you need to do is hit add Q&A. So an example in this case, if we're using a med spa URL, right, maybe somebody asked, hey, how much is Botox a unit? Well, hey, right, maybe you don't have that on your website. This is where we can actually customize that question. So we can say, how much is Botox? And then answer. This is where we can type in the answer. You can obviously go in more detail, but for now, I'll just say Botox is, let's say, $11 a unit. And then obviously you can also go into more depth and also just explain like, hey, right, it might vary based on, age, right? Obviously you can give the answer much more depth, but for now I'm just keeping it a little more basic, and go ahead and hit save. And then again, that's where you can test it. You can ask it and it should totally spit out exactly the answer that you just put in here. So trial and error, just train it, play around with it, beef it up, get it to cleaned up to how you like it. So last thing,
Sorry, another thing that I wanted to add in too is when you are training your bot as well, so like how much is Botox, so you can like type that in just like she said over here. But what you can do as well is actually rate your responses. So if you actually like the way that sounded, you can give them a thumbs up. But in this case, I'm going to say that we don't like that response. So we can hit on the thumbs down, and then you can actually change the question here and then click train bot. And so that's also gonna be correcting as you're trying to train it from the start. So I also thought that was just like a good thing to add in. Yes or no if you like it or not.
Alrighty. So last thing too as well is I want to go ahead and click into bot goals. So when I hit into bot goals, here is where you can really customize how your bot responds, right? Obviously it has all the data, but we want maybe add a little personality to it. Tell the bot, hey, this is your role, this is what you can or can't help with, So if any of those questions do come up, it's kind of already programmed. So here you can see personality. So this is just an example, and you can use this template and kind of go off of it. It always defaults to this in all of your guys' accounts. So it just says, hey, you're a bot for blank, tasked to assist customers. Your primary goal is to build trust, help, et cetera, et cetera. In this case, I would leave this here, You cannot help them with appointments, especially because all of your appointments are going to be booked in Aesthetic Record and not through Lead AR. But that's where we can actually use that custom Q&A, If they ask about booking, send them and copy and paste, your Aesthetic Record URL for online booking instead of Lead AR, because you just don't have one for Lead AR. So again, you can also kind of have fun too with it if you want to try to make it match your personality, sassy, silly, whatever. I mean, you can have fun with it, just play around with it, but I thought this is a good section too.
Another thing too, sorry.
No, you're good.
I was chiming in, but another thing that you can also do is if you wanted to copy this part and paste it into ChatGPT and just say, make this my personality and put your website in there, it can kind of customize it a little bit for you and then have that same format to copy and paste right back into Lead AR. I've done that with a couple of our accounts, so I thought that might be a good add or easy to do that way as well.
Yes, definitely. And then again, I'm just going to stress appointment booking here, You're never gonna touch or do anything with appointment booking because again, that's through Aesthetic Record, not Lead AR. So next thing I'm going to go ahead and do also just to get some some nice numbers and metrics, how many times a day is AI actually responding. So now I'm going to go ahead and click into your dashboard up towards the top. And then here, this is where we can kind of just get some information. So total unique contacts, action triggers, booked appointment, again, not really gonna see that. Time saved, which I think is huge, because I'm sure you guys get, small questions that, could just be answered with AI instead of taking someone else's time to actually respond. So I think this will be a huge game changer to actually see how much time AI is actually truly helping you guys out in your normal every day to day. And then again, also total messages. This is where you can also just get a gear I didn't realize that many people actually are texting us in a day or throughout the day, and then average messages per contact too as well. So wanted to kind of go over there. Other thing too as well that I forgot to mention that I want to point out is that we can also totally differentiate or see what specific channel to as well. So again, so it would be just kind of nice to just kind of know some of those metrics, I had no idea, we actually get a lot of Instagram DMs, or you know what I mean, et cetera. So you can also filter it by channels too, which I think is just nice information to have. And then up here, you can always sort that date. So if you even just wanted to do a single day interaction, you can totally filter it by that too as well. Or you can even do this week, month, or you can completely customize whatever date that you want. So that's also just useful. But essentially, right, once you train it, hey, how do I actually just make it live? Because it auto defaults as off. Again, this is where we can decide, hey, are we gonna have it as suggestive or autopilot? And then all you have to do once you decide if you wanna do suggestive or autopilot, all you have to do is just hit save, and you would be good to go, and your AI would start working from the day you either choose one of these two and then hit save.
Okay, so another thing that we're going to be going over as well is the difference between conversation AI and some other AI generated tools in LeadAR, such as reviews AI or maybe automations, because those are a little bit different things, and I feel like I don't want anybody to kind of get confused what this bot is versus your reviews AI or automations and things like that. So the first thing that we're going to kind of look at together is going to be reviews AI and how you can turn that on as well. So when you are in your LeadAR account, I'm going to click back, and I'm going to go to the reputation tab. If you already have your Google connected, you can go to settings and integrations and make sure that that's connected there. But just for time's sake, I'm just going to go over the AI section here. So when you are in your settings, what you're going to want to do is make sure that you can have that auto response on, or you can have suggestive as well. Either way works, but I think that reviews AI is so nice so you don't have to go into Google and try to respond to every single person. So now you can kind of see your different options with reviews AI. It might be defaulted to off, but you can do suggestive, just kind of how like the bot was, or you can do auto responses. I would say this is very, very common in most of our accounts that people have this on, just because you don't have to worry about responding to another platform. It can just be all done for you. So here you can also see the wait time before responding. So if you wanted to make it seem like you personally sent them a message on Google, like thank you for a 5-star review, whatever, we can maybe do 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Really, it's up to you, your wait time before responding. And then down here as well, we can do your review source. So we can do Google and Facebook. So if I click here and click edit, you can also click and see where you want to be responding on as well. So now I'm going to click on these little 3 dots and click edit. And then what you can do is kind of, again, train your bot a little bit. For example, it says do not ask follow-up questions, because you might not want to be asking follow-up questions in a review. But again, this is something that you could throw into ChatGPT and make it your own. Same thing with tone. So if you wanted to do more professional, empathetic, friendly, I think friendly would be a great one, just because this is on your Google platforms or Facebook or wherever you have it connected to. But I think that having some type of tone might be good, just so you don't seem super AI. But here again, we can do we're English in the US, most of our accounts are based here. And then same thing for review source. You can do Google and Facebook pages, and you can also click on the review type. So maybe you don't want to respond to a review that's 3 stars or below, or whatever it might be. You might want to only respond to 5-star reviews or 4 and above. It's really totally up to you what that is for your practice. And then we can click save here. And then that's pretty much it as far as reviews AI. But I think that this is just such a great tool to be able to take one less task off of your plate. But now we're going to kind of switch gears just a little bit into automation. So there's a couple of things that we can do with automations as far as Instagram or Facebook comments versus DMs. Because if you already have your conversation bot trained for responding to Instagram and Facebook DMs, this won't really apply to you as much. But what we can do is I'm going to show you an automation that we can do based off of them commenting a certain word or whatever it might be, and we can reply within the comments. Okay, so this is the example that I was going to show you guys today. So this is an automation that can actually respond within the comments. So a little bit different than AI, but still an automation, if you will. So these are the different triggers that you're going to do. So Instagram comment or Facebook, so you can do both. But when you click into the trigger, there's going to be a couple of things that you have to select. So first we need to make sure that your Instagram and Facebook are connected in integrations and also in the social planner. So you'll be able to see your actual posts within the trigger. So what you would do is just select that post. We don't have any social accounts connected to this, so that's why you're not seeing any. But we could do, for an example, for spring, right? We have a Facebook post or Instagram post that goes out, and in the caption, it's like, comment SPF for X% off or whatever it is. If they comment, we can actually respond back to the comment automatically and say like, thank you for commenting SPF. On your next appointment, we'll waive the percentage off or whatever like deal you're running. But just know that the action and purpose of this automation is to be able to respond within the comments as well. And you'll just have to make sure that all of this is connected on your socials. And then I'm going to click save. And then same thing for Facebook. It'll look the exact same way. But you'll just have to make sure that you're connected to your Facebook as well. And then here's where we can actually respond on the comment. So we just said like, thank you for responding, check your DM to save on your next purchase. And then this is where we can actually DM them based off of them commenting as well. So this action is within the comments. So you responded to the comment. This is your template that you have for Instagram DM. And you can do the same thing for Facebook Messenger as well.
Perfect. And another thing that I also would just like to add here, so this is a perfect example that shows clear differentiation on the AI bot, and then this is just responding to comments. But again, just to remember, if you have or had a automation where, an automation where the trigger is anytime anyone sends an Instagram DM, automatically send them a Instagram DM back or a Facebook Messenger back. If you have that on and are also using your AI bot, it cancels the AI bot and whatever you have in that automation will just respond. So again, just to kind of differentiate the differences between, what AI is going to respond to versus your automation. So this is a perfect example of, hey, right, this has nothing to do with DMs. Really, it's just, responding to certain comments on a single interaction on an Instagram post.
Yes, definitely. That was such a good point. So, yep, that's just good things to like keep in mind about using conversation AI and reviews AI and automations, all the things. I just want you guys to be able to kind of get a better, clear picture of what is responding to what, so nothing goes sideways in your account at all. But I think that kind of wraps up today's webinar. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email us at info@myleadar.com, and we will be happy to help you and assist you there. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.